Great stuff. Welcome to the Army Electronics Center YouTube channel. I hope that you are good and ready, getting ready for the final exams. Like we always say, all right, just wanted to get rid of that feedback so that we can get started right away. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you through today on just getting my system up and running here. Still not so familiar with this YouTube system, rather the Zoom channel. Okay, cool. Hope you can hear me loud and clear. So what I want to do today is to take you through what, how to answer an essay type question. And this essay type question is about the total cost of ownership in L4M1 context of procurement and supply. In fact, wow, this is not the right title. It is now called the scope and context of procurement and supply. Let's go for it, ladies and gentlemen. I picked up this question, which you might find useful. And the question says, explain 5 elements of the total cost of ownership that can add value for the value, or that can add value for the buying organization when procuring a capital item. All right, so we are dealing with a capital asset. Now remember that most of the total cost of ownership calculations are calculated on capital expenditure. So let's do the question analysis to help you. By the way, before you proceed, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that the next time we are broadcasting, you can be the first to hear and you follow us on this platform. Okay, our purpose is really to help you to get ready for the exams. And I've seen some of the students putting comments here that I should put more and more stuff here. I will do my best to put as much as I can. However, remember, this is proprietary information. This is part of what the college does to generate its income. So we encourage you to register. We've got students in Africa and across South Africa and some parts of Africa. So you are welcome wherever you're watching us from to register with the college so that we can help you in the journey of becoming an MSIPS. All right, so let's get started. Now, this is how you address this type of question. You need to understand first what the command word is. Now, the command word is explain, all right? So here, what you are required to do is to give reasons for or account of. So you'll give reasons or an account of the 5 elements of the total cost of ownership. Now, this is an essay type of question, like I said, and it requires that you have the following portions of the answer without labeling them as such. Now, I keep telling students, please don't even use bullet points or numbering them or even putting a title. You just need to start the first part. The examiner will know that this is the introduction, and then you go to the 5 elements in distinct paragraphs after the introduction, and thereafter you are going to have the conclusion. And here, you know that the rules of the conclusion, you do not raise new ideas in the conclusion, and that's how this question is approached. So you start with the introduction. Here you need to explain or define the key concepts that have been mentioned in the question. In this case, we will define the concept total cost of ownership and talk about it in general. You will also give an overview of it. And then the main body is going to have 5 distinct paragraphs, each addressing an element of the TCO, explaining it, giving an account of it. All right. And then finally, we'll do a conclusion. So let's dive into it. I've given you the exact type of introduction. Now, what I've done is, instead of giving you all the 5 elements, ladies and gentlemen, I've given you, I think it's 3, and the rest you can find those for yourselves. Alternatively, Like I always advise students who want more and more, get in contact with the college. Our idea as well is as we benefit you, you can somewhat benefit the college as well by being a student. Firstly, the total cost of ownership relates to the cost associated with the entire life of the product and is often used when procuring assets rather than regular sourced items. Now, when we talk about assets, we're referring to capital items. This is also known as the total life cost of an item, okay? TCO considers the estimated cost that will be incurred during the lifespan of the product. So TCO analysis shows a clear picture of what is the estimated cost of purchasing a given asset over its lifetime. Now, I've got a good friend of mine who likes saying to me that, he used this phrase once. No, he doesn't like saying to me all the time, but he used this phrase once and said the phrase, he says, you don't want to buy a car where you spend more time under the car rather than inside the car. Now, this is where you don't look at the total cost of owning that asset and you just look at the price. Because some of the cars that you see there, they could be cheap, but the amount of breakdowns that you're going to have are so onerous that you spend more time trying to fix it than driving it. So you need to consider the total cost of ownership when you buy an asset like a car. It includes all cost elements involved in the initial purchase price of the asset, but it also adds all the associated maintenance, upgrade, operation costs that occur during its lifetime. There are several different ways that this analysis is used to decisions by decision makers. These cost elements of the TCO will add value to the buying organization if the buyer factors them in the cost calculation before the asset is procured. Okay, now I've jumped everything else. You can read it in your own pleasure. Pause the video and read it. But let's go to the different elements and give an account of each. Number one, pre-acquisition cost. Now, this you need to provide detailed explanation. And you can see here that for every explanation I make, I give examples. That is what CIPS likes you to do. Provide examples from real life situations, from your work experience, and so on. Don't assume that the examiner knows. Assume that you are addressing an examiner who doesn't have an idea, or in fact, who is expecting you to know what you must know. Okay, so the pre-acquisition costs are all the costs that the buying organization incurs before the asset has been acquired. So you start from pre-acquisition, okay? There are many activities required to be done before the asset is finally brought into the organization. For more complex assets, organizations may have engaged external expertise to develop a business case, especially when the funding for such an asset will be sought from an external party, such as the banks or other funding institutions. So all the costs associated with putting up that business case are regarded as part of the total cost of owning that asset. They are called pre-acquisition costs. The next one is the total cost of acquisition, or just the acquisition cost. Now, the acquisition costs are all the costs associated with acquiring the physical asset and setting up within the organization. So you can imagine what these would entail, okay? These would entail things like the actual purchase price, the cost of installation. Now you can see here the examples at the bottom here, installation and commissioning of the assets, and even the training of employees that you will need to train to be able to operate the asset. In the body of the text here, we talk about permissions that you need to get from municipalities and different entities in order for you to acquire that asset if you need to do that. So those are all called acquisition costs. Of course, don't forget the interest if you are financing it with the banks. The interest that you need to pay on this becomes part of the acquisition cost. The next one that I want to talk to you about is the operating costs. Now, these operating costs, they fall under three categories. So we are explaining them here. If you've got fixed costs, you've got variable costs, and you've got semi-variable costs. Now, each of these are a component of the operating costs of an asset, and they form part of the total cost of owning an asset. Lastly, I wanted to, not lastly, second before last, other TCO elements include downtime costs, disposal costs, and like I said, feel free to drop something here for yourself and answer this question yourself. And if you need help, you're welcome to contact the college. And again, a conclusion that summarizes what you've told is very essential in an essay question. So here you would say something like a buyer must consider the TCO analysis for capital assets because the purchase price of the asset is only a part of the cost. Using the aspect analog, the purchase price is only a tip of the iceberg, which is immediately visible to the buyer, but the bulk of the cost lies below the surface of the water. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that is how you deal with essay type questions. I wish you all the very best. Here's my advice in the exams: relax. You've got 3 hours to write this exam. Don't rush yourself. Relax and be comfortable so that your knowledge can flow unhindered. I wish you the best. I will see you again very, very soon, and bye-bye.